Alright, the wait is over for y'all. So for the first part of the Mega Campaign, we're going to start from the 1066 start date in CK3. This took forever to get through. I think I spent like 22 hours recording this part of the campaign. Part of the reason why is I haven't touched CK3 in a long time since, honestly, I'm not that interested in the medieval time period, so coming back there was a lot of new stuff for me to learn. And to be honest, the beginning of the game for me was like...
I'm about to skip this shit. Skip. But when does this game get good?
Of course, I will be making my own character, and if you've been watching for a while, you should already know that I'm going to be playing as myself. Master Ryan of the Gosling Dynasty. He's specialized in martial skills and will start as an adventurer in Venice. Also, full disclaimer, I got no grand plans for this campaign. I'm starting as a wanderer and I'm gonna roleplay from there, rolling with the punches the world throws at me, but obviously not getting carried away and making myself overpowered. Ryan may have no plans for what he wanted to do in life, but he yearned for glory. However, just like most men in his position, he had to start off the same way, doing dumb jobs for rich people he didn't care about. Yeah, sure, some men would pick a different first job, but that's what separates Ryan from most men. And this mindset is why he'll be somebody in life. Before we start the scheme, Ryan meets a friendly rabbi named Natroy that wants to join us, and the squad gets together to plan the assassination of Gandolfo. But as we were planning the scheme, the idiot gets himself killed by accident, so I'm sent packing back home with no money. The next mission is more straightforward, a simple escort mission to take a countess overseas to visit a duke. Well, allegedly simple, so we encountered a storm, and I trusted my good caravan master Ricardo to sail this ship through, and the guy drowned. Despite that, I still got the countess to her destination though, so hey, mission accomplished. Eventually, I saw a contract from a count looking for mercs to help him in a war, so I just said why not and signed up. Sure, there were only 4 of us, but the contract didn't have a size requirement, so that's really on him. I did my job. I helped with the siege, and when he wanted to fight the battle, I was right there beside him. However, when the war was over and he won, the count stiffed me on the payment. Having the nerve to even call me an oath breaker? Like, if you're broke, just say it, dude. We're 4 guys, like, what were you expecting? Did he think I was just gonna solo his duke's entire army? That was more trouble than it was worth. I wanted money, but I don't want to work that hard for it, so it's time to turn to crime. We were gonna go to the town of Looney and start shaking down the locals for coins. I found a few unlucky nobles, but the heat starts turning up on me with more breaches, so I had to execute my grand robbery scheme. Sadly, it did not end well for me and the gang, and we got busted real quick. So, since I can't be a criminal, I might as well try to catch some. There was a woman named Gaduda that needed to be brought to justice. Now, the first time I met her, I tried to talk it out with her, saying that I'm somewhat of a criminal myself and we can work together. Her response? The next time I encounter her, I'm not playing around. I have great martial, which gives me a good chance to get her with an ambush. So of course, when I go through with it, I get the 5% chance she escapes. I am left with one final attempt to bring her in. I have a 72% chance to end this, but with my luck, you already knew what was gonna happen. Can someone actually tell me what the probability of this was? I failed a 74%, a 95%, and a 72% roll. Like, you'd think the game actually hates me with that luck. Ryan was in his mid-30s, and I think it was time for him to think about settling down. Not on land yet, but more with a woman. So I went to the bar, and there she was, Leonide, a fine specimen. God, Ryan, you have such a way with words. Anyways, once I hired her, like any boss in their 30s with a new female employee, I declared my love for her. I waited for an opportunity to seduce her further, and the chance came. She screamed for help, and soon I would rush forward to heroically save her and get her to fall madly in love with me. However, that is not what happened. She didn't need my help at all and killed the stag by herself, which for some reason means I failed to seduce her. 84% chance to succeed, by the way, add it to the list. Not even 6 months later, she wants to get married to another guy at my camp. I was really tempted to just be a hater and say no, but I'm better than this. So I allow them to get married. Sadly, I couldn't attend their wedding because I had very important other things I needed to take care of that day. Since that was the only woman in Pisa, I move on to Genoa to find another one. I go to the tavern and my eyes are drawn to a woman named Julia. And while she seems nice, at 39 years old, she's too old for Ryan. Ryan needs a woman who can give him some kids. So he moves on again to another city. That's where he meets Clara and quickly hires her. And what's incredible is right after hiring her, I can immediately arrange a marriage with her. It feels kinda illegal because she literally can't say no. Did I just sneak that into the contract when she agreed to work for me? Although I forced her to marry me, I did want Clara to genuinely love me, so I schemed to seduce her. I did the exact same plan I did to try to win over Leonide, but this time when I moved to save her from the stag, I actually did save her, causing her to fall madly in love with me. 3 months later, she becomes pregnant with our first child. And with that, I think it was time to raise my status in this world. I wasn't gonna die just doing odd jobs for rich people, so I started recruiting men-at-arms to have my own army, and took up a new job to support a claimant war. The Duke of Piedmont isn't going down quietly, so we gotta get ready for a fight. But before I can even do anything, my ally gets himself destroyed in a battle, leaving me all by myself against 2,000 hostile troops. All I can do is cower in the mountains and hope for the best. The Count of Cuneo did reunite with my army, but we're only 800 guys versus 2,000. All we can still do is sit in the mountains. They eventually work up the courage to come for us, but despite their overwhelming numbers, we are absolutely clobbering them. At least until we get the news that the Kaiser of the HRE is getting directly involved this war. I don't know why this happened, but looking at those numbers, there's only one valid choice for me. Another mercenary contract pops up and I get involved. After pretty much winning that last battle in the mountains, I may have gotten a bit too overconfident in myself because there is no reason I should have taken this army on. I just ended up embarrassing myself. I just had to sit out the war. I'm just a mercenary. You can't expect that much effort from me. I have another chance with a hunt down the criminal contract, and this time I'm not even gonna bother trying to outsmart or talk things out with them. I'm gonna walk up and kill her. I have 2.5 times her prowess, so this duel was pretty one-sided. I headed into Bavaria to look for more work and saw a contract to train some knights, but looking at the guys he wanted me to train, I wonder what he's expecting me to do here. Bro literally took me to a retirement home and was like, hey, can you train the next generation of knights, please? Of course I ended up failing that contract, and after walking around Germany some more, I got another mercenary gig. I was ready to earn some decent gold from helping this guy out, but when I started the war, the Duke backed down immediately, so I walked away with no money. I was getting concerned at this point that Ryan wouldn't be able to make a name for himself. He's in his 50s now and still scrounging for pennies that rich people toss him. However, things would change when the Pope called for a crusade for the kingdom of Badajoz. This was the opportunity Ryan had been waiting for, so he packed up the camp and raced for Iberia. When the crusade began, Ryan sprang into action. Although I didn't have much, I could still go around and snipe smaller armies. I recruited a few extra men-at-arms, but I'm still at the mercy of the AI. I had to be careful where I help my allies because I can't afford to replace many of my losses. Eventually, the Muslims did pick a battle that I could safely get involved in, and Ryan's expert leadership led the Christians to victory. The Muslim armies scattered after this, and Ryan chased down all the smaller armies fleeing. I got an easy battle, but things got complicated when Ryan started having a moment.
Give me a minute. Give me a minute.
Yep, Ryan got tuberculosis, and while the camp position could do a little bit to help, it's not going to be enough. With him being so sick, I can't make myself the beneficiary of the spoils of this crusade, and considering how much I've done for it, I'm entitled to a lot of that. I can't make my son the beneficiary either because he's my heir, but for now, I can give it to my daughter. Despite TB wearing Ryan down, he carried on, hunting down the small Muslim armies to win as much glory for the Gosling family as possible. But eventually, he just pushed himself too hard. Now, it was time to continue as my son Ryan and finish what his father started. Since he was young and healthy, Ryan could make himself the beneficiary of the crusade spoils. For the next year and a half, Ryan continued to participate in the crusade, fighting against the dwindling Muslim armies. And on May 19th, 1104, the first crusade was declared victorious. Queen... Polish name is gonna be granted the new Christian kingdom of Badajoz, but I will have my own place within that kingdom as the Duke of Beja and Count of Lisboa. Although he didn't live to see it, Ryan's father's dream was accomplished. The Goslings now had land of their own to build their wealth and power on. Taking land is one thing, managing it is a completely different job. Now that we had land, the men-at-arms we hired were expecting money for their services, and all I could afford to give them was some pink slips. The locals hate my guts since I'm of a completely different religion and culture. It's even worse for my queen, with her already having to deal with a duke revolting against her. And when she's done dealing with that, the kingdom of Galicia invades to take me away from her. The Galicians sieged my holding down, which undid all the work I did to establish control on Lisboa. My queen did unsiege my land and beat the Galicians back, but honestly, I don't have much faith in my current queen. I probably would have been better under Galicia. So it's time to start scheming. Hopefully, killing my current leader will create an opportunity for me to get out of here. The odds weren't great against my king, but I tried to poison his food, and of course that failed. However, it didn't even matter because nobody found out I tried to kill the king, and the man did me the favor of dying on his own. Immediately, the other vassal invited me to overthrow our new leader for lower crown authority, and I did it just cause. This led to a kid being put in charge who immediately put up the crown authority law again, so of course the same thing happened, but I really didn't care to join this time. There was another issue I wanted to deal with. Too bad that issue ended up dealing with me. The Galicians came in for another round, and I'm thankful they did. I couldn't wait to join their kingdom. Now, under more stable leadership, I could start expanding into my former liege's territory. The Muslims also moved in on the ashes of the Kingdom of Badajoz, so I quickly took care of that count. The Pope then announced another crusade for the Kingdom of Aragon, so the Goslings are definitely getting involved in this one. Before the start of it, I wanted to finish off Badajoz. The game told me that the war would automatically end if I didn't finish it before the crusade started, but I felt confident I could do it. However, I may have overestimated my siege abilities, and how much the siege events would help me. I tried a last attempt to assault the fort to make up for it, but that was not working. But guess what? The crusade started and my war continued normally, so the game literally lied to me. I weakened my army for no reason, and upon hearing that, my vassals sent me a message.
You stupid.
And now I have to raise their autonomy. Since I lost so many men in the fort assault, I can't siege the city again. I got lucky when I left the city alone for a while. They raised another army with their leader in it, so when I rushed to crush it, I captured the queen and got the war score I needed to get the province. I tried to do the same strategy I did for the last crusade, and after a few years of helping out, investing my blood, sweat, and money, this is what happened.
Now get out of here.
$100. The ad said 3,000.
Well, check it again, webhead.
Also, during the crusade, the king of Galicia died, and since he took the king of Badajoz title, one of his sons inherited it. And guess who was one of the lucky vassals to get assigned to him? Imagine how I felt. All that time and effort to get under a better liege just to be put under the kingdom of Badajoz again. Well, maybe this time it will be no, immediately off to a bad start when this guy has a peasant uprising and they come from his land to siege down my stuff too. There are way too many peasants around, so I just have to accept it. Unfortunately, those peasant rebels inspire other ones in my land, and once again, there is no chance for me to win this. But the great thing about hitting rock bottom with legitimacy is you can't go any lower, so it ain't too bad. We have a lot of rebuilding to do, but not much under this leadership. Although the Goslings had secured land, Ryan's reign had been spent dealing with the fact that nobody wants us to have this land. July 29th, 1148, he passes the torch onto his son Ryan and this other son Ryan. As Ryan, I only held onto the duchy title and Lisbon. My brother got the other 2 counties. But not even 2 weeks after getting power, my brother wants me to help him depose our king, and I say sure, anything for my brother. Although, not sure the feeling is mutual, cause we're not off to a good start when I'm moving towards the king's land and my brother is just whittling his thumbs off to the side. I love how he starts moving towards me after I get caught in a bad battle. For some reason, he sat in the mountains instead of moving towards me, so I have to run as fast as I can to save this idiot, but he just baited me into walking straight into an ass beating. After that, I know I'm not winning the war on the battlefield. It's best to just focus on sieges. The king doesn't have enough men to siege our castles, but we have enough to siege his. And no idea why our king is just sitting in a siege that won't progress instead of fighting us, but I'm not going to question a gift. What I find really funny in this game is when you overthrow your liege in one of these tyranny wars, their successor thinks they can just do the same thing and get away with it. Like, you really thought you were slick? Oh my god, you'll never guess what our new liege did!
It is even funnier the second time.
My brother is trying to marry my 12-year-old daughter. Is this a Drake reference? Now is a good time to mention this. The counties of Faro and Silves somehow belong to the HRE. And while that sucks, especially for my expansion, it gets even worse because the HRE takes another province from me. Never govern a crusader state, guys. You can't keep anything here. My liege can't do anything for me, so I don't see the point in staying around. Incredible. We're 263% stronger, and you still want to fight it out? It's decisions like this that made me want to leave. Obviously I win, but once I'm free, my brother calls for help since he's in a bit of a situation, but like, I don't know what he thinks I'm gonna do here. This looks pretty over to me. I join out of pity, but unsurprisingly, he immediately loses the war, and my brother got ejected from his land. But you know what? Considering who he was, maybe that's better for the children of Badajoz. As for the HRE, you know what they say, if you can't beat them, join them. Now that I'm in the Empire, I can get the land I want, but it does require me to travel to the Kaiser's palace to ask for it. Only a 13-month journey to get there and back, they'll barely notice I'm gone. When I arrive, he's pretty reasonable. I owe him a solid and I get the county of Faro. The Kaiser uses that favor to raise my levy obligations to him, so I made out pretty good in that exchange. Now came the matter of my brother's former land. It had unfortunately ended up in the hands of the King of Galicia, and I was going to correct that problem. At first, everything seemed fine. We got a really good first battle, and we have a major numbers advantage over the Galicians. But then the Galicians got some unexpected support. I'm not joking, by the way. All the Muslims in Iberia joined against me. No alliances either. They saw me attacking a female ruler and just couldn't let that stand. But I was determined to win this war regardless, even if it came with a heavy cost. I managed to take them down pretty well in battle, but with the numbers they still have, they can bounce back. The only way for me to win is to get sieges. I had to make some risky plays to win here. They were sieging down my capital, and I had to hope that sieging the war goals would give me the war score needed to end this before Lisboa fell. At 93 war score, I just needed Hervas, but it was a neck and neck race for these sieges. Fortunately, I got my siege just 3 days before Lisboa, so I could declare victory. And there we have it! The Patriarchy won again! With that victory, I can bring back the Kingdom of Badajoz again, but this time it's gonna be in good hands. It's amazing how, despite accomplishing all of this, I'm still seen as an illegitimate ruler. Like, what do these people expect from me at this point? At least now I can hold court, and after a bit of yapping, the people finally look at me with passive disdain instead of open hatred. So now that Ryan had made himself king, you may be wondering what his next move was. Well, die, of course. Unlike his dad, the people of Badajoz actually like Brian, so he starts with level 3 legitimacy. I really wanted to consolidate my de jure holdings, but this Kaiser isn't going to do me any favors, so I'm going to have to get the land the violent way. But before I get onto that, there is an independent count on my border that is begging for my liberation. With that war wrapped up, I check in on my brother and see him get captured by a random adventurer and deposed. I mean, it's nice to have the Badajoz land back, but it's weird that this is the second time my brother has been deposed by a random adventurer. The only way for me to declare war on the HRE is to get a hook on the Kaiser, so I gotta get a group together to fabricate one on him. I got some good luck for once, and the scheme is successful, and I can start the war to take my de jure land from Bohemia. If we're being real here, they really should care about this, but even after getting the war goals, the Bohemians want to keep the war going and waste time sieging my ally Tyrol. The sieges literally don't even affect the war score at all, and they made me wait 5 years to get my rightful land. Later on, I end up having a problem. Once again, the Galicians are coming for Beja, but I got questions. First, looking at the numbers, what is the AI thinking is going to happen here? Also, another Muslim-Christian alliance in Iberia to take land from me? This is starting to feel personal. Since they're making it personal, I'm getting involved. I assemble the army and try to intercept a smaller army stack before they link up. This leads me to engage the main Muslim army, where not only did my son die, I lost the battle. The Kaiser later came in and curb stomped them with 15,000 troops, so I really didn't have to do any of this. Also, with the prestige I have accumulated, I think the Goslings need to think big and create a new culture. The Goslings' Italian influence over the past century of ruling over the Andalusian people has led to new traditions forming. Enter the Iterian culture, a combination of Arabic and Italian traditions that have now become widespread in southwestern Iberia. With our new culture, my kingdom name changes from Badajoz to Zenzer, which honestly sounds more like an alien species from Star Wars than a medieval kingdom. A great opportunity pops up for me when Burgundy wins an independence war against the HRE, so I can finally declare war on them for my de jure land. They tried to stop it from happening, but with Tyrol by my side, they didn't have a chance. Brian had done a great job in consolidating the land in the Kingdom of Zenzer, and now he had the option of promoting a legend. I decided to promote the legend of my grandfather Ryan. He was the first Gosling to get a landed title, and with everything he had to go through, the fact that he not only held on to that title, but even expanded deserves some recognition. Also, after 150 years playing, I should probably tell y'all what's going on in the world. France has expanded a lot into Iberia, mainly because they got Aragon from the Crusade. I don't know when the HRE got Morocco, but they're there now, and also in Wales. The Byzantines have looked better, but Georgia is having the game of its life right now. They're about to be suffering from success though, because they put themselves very close to the newly emerged Mongol Empire. The Pope has decided that it is time to do a crusade for Jerusalem, but I have my own plan, so I don't really care to assist them. I have my own crusading to do in Iberia. But you skip one crusade, and this is what happens? So much for retaking the Holy Land. How are they going to explain what happened over there?
It ain't my fault he ran right in front of my truck.
Where? On the interstate?
Now that I've firmly established my power base in Iberia, I really don't need to be in the HRE anymore, so it's time to start planning my exit. However, there's a big problem. I don't have the strength to leave, and nobody wants to join me. But there are ways to take care of that. He may have ended up dying of old age, but I'm still taking credit for it.
You'll ignore anything that gets in your way. No, don't you dare make me disappear!
The new Kaiser was gonna be in for a rough time, because sadly for him, I had a really good relationship with the Pope, and it's time to call in a favor. In no time, vassals started jumping on him. Oh my god. Did I do that? Oh look, we got a new Kaiser. Hey Mangold, I got a great coronation present for you. Oh, he sent me a jewelry casket as a gift after that to be friends. Maybe he didn't deserve to be excommunicated. I mean, I know I want my independence, but maybe I'm the bad guy. Oh, what? Oh, so this casket was foreshadowing. I see how it is, Mangold. Well, Ryan II, you have to finish what your father started. Not just with getting independence, but finishing the legend about your great-grandfather. With people trying to claim the throne of the HRE, I figure now is as good as a time as ever to leave the Empire. I thought I could get away with sitting around Iberia and North Africa, but since one of the rebelling dukes in Italy is getting sieged down, I have to go over there and fight the Kaiser because he gets ticking war score for that. Feels weird going back to Italy. The Goslings haven't set foot in this area for over 130 years at this point. So get this, Ryan II is very early into his rule and started off with the ambitious goal of getting independence from the largest empire in Europe. And what do people call him? The Craven. Like, what? That just feels unfair. Anyway, we start the fight against the HRE soldiers, and it's not even fair. I love how one of the armies didn't even bother reinforcing because they knew what was gonna happen. I unsieged all the land of Verona, and the HRE bravely, I guess, returned to attempt to siege this area again, and the battle goes exactly how you'd expect. At least I can enforce my demands now and get my freedom. The Kingdom of Zenzer has officially thrown off its German chains. Alright, world check. The Mongols are popping off, no surprise there. It's amazing how Persia doesn't even exist in Persia anymore. They live in Anatolia. Poor Georgia too. As expected, the Mongols cut them down a lot. In other news, the legend of my great-grandfather has reached level 2 and I'm ready to complete it there. Having a level 2 legend gives me claims on all of Iberia, which is so broken. I can basically conquer half the peninsula in one war. Well, you know what they say, the brightest stars die the fastest. Georgia held on at least, but Persia is just gone. I was holding off on declaring on Al-Sark because I thought they were gonna get more land from Aragon, but they failed that war, so I'm just gonna have to settle for this. I may have gotten a bit cocky with my opening by not waiting for my allies, because they came running at me with 12,000 men and I was not ready for that. I appreciate the spirit of the Galicians, but I really just baited them into getting their asses kicked.
Rex! I'm sorry.
Once everyone recovered, we chased after Al-Sark's armies again. With our number advantage, they fled back to their lands, but we managed to catch them in Almonte. But what should have been a great victory was ruined by everyone arriving on the battlefield a few days after each other. We got picked off one at a time there, but we can learn from defeat. And you know what they say, third time's the charm, right? Wrong. I got destroyed so hard, I lost legitimacy. It already hurts to lose these battles, but to lose these battles and all my subjects are like, yikes, it's just rubbing salt into it. The war score is also getting very concerning. One thing I noticed during those battles is they get a lot of buffs for fighting on their home territory. So when they come into Zenzer again to siege me, I need to move in a way to cut them off from running back to Al-Sark. The AI gets scared into running to Faro, and at that point I knew I had them. Without their defensive buffs, our superior numbers destroyed their armies, and we captured their king at the end of the battle, automatically winning this war for me. That was the only Muslim kingdom left in Iberia, so the Reconquista is pretty much done, and Zenzer now controls about 2/3 of Iberia. But as you can see in the video time remaining, this story isn't close to being over yet. I may have removed their king, but all those Muslim nobles were not happy to see me as their new liege. So what do? Conquer more land, of course. Who cares about internal stability when I'm close to uniting Iberia? With Aragon taken care of, next up was Galicia. You'd think they would be able to put up a fight with the numbers they're reporting, but all I had to do was siege their capital, and I got all I needed to make them tap out. I thought after that I'd have everything I needed to form the Empire of Hispania, but I was locked out from that because I didn't finish the Iberian struggle. Now, I'll keep it real. I did briefly glance at it at some point in the past, but I never really read it. However, I think resolving the Iberian struggle would be a good end goal for this part of the campaign. To summarize this mechanic and what's going on here quickly, I can end this in 3 ways. Status quo ending, literally the nothing ever happens ending, nobody can unite Iberia. Detente ending, all the nobility start singing Imagine by John Lennon and Iberia becomes like the Garden of Eden. Then there is the Zenzer dominance ending, which is basically you may think I'm gonna get this ending since I'm really close, but there is a requirement to be in a hostility phase, and after 8 years of mass conquering Iberia, we are somehow still in a time of compromise. I mean, I wouldn't call this a deal born from compromise, but whatever you say, game. Well, I am only 49. If I can stay alive long enough, I can get to this Oh. I guess now is as good as a time as any to mention. King Ryan II had 6 kids during his reign. None of them were boys. So upon passing, my titles get distributed amongst the girls, of which only one is an adult. And on May 5th, 1251, my nightmare began. Ryan II dies from his smallpox, and Adelaida becomes the new queen of Zenzer. She did keep control over half of Iberia, but my sister Octreda got the Kingdom of Galicia, now renamed to Iulicia, and Adriana got the Kingdom of Aragon. But you know what? I can work with this. Iberia is big enough for the 3 of us, and I can just go for the detente ending instead. However, there is a big elephant in the room to deal with. The nobility in Iberia nowadays, not exactly ardent feminist. And they especially don't want to take orders from a little girl, so Big Sis has to bail them out. However, by trying to help my sisters, I open myself up to opportunists, so most of Iberia is descending into civil war. My strategy is just like what they tell you in the safety briefing for planes. I gotta secure my own safety first, so I go after my own rebellious dukes. Sorry chuds, the future is female for all y'all. They retreated to southern Iberia, and I love how one rebel army left the other out to dry to get stack wiped. Oh, he's not even trying to run away. Duke of Granada just accepting his fate. Now I gotta save my sis Octreda and Iulicia. The Templars come in clutch with this lease offer. These mercenaries aren't cheap, but they are so worth it. I must have hit their commander on the head in the last battle, because why would they try to attack me here? With tactics like these, Octreda's rebels didn't have a chance to overthrow her, and I secured her rule, for now. But the job wasn't over yet. I had to help Adriana hold on to the Aragonese throne. You know how they say queens were in more wars than kings? This is why. Every nobleman with a sword is taking a crack at the Gosling sisters. The first rebellion started in 1250, and it wasn't until 1268 that people in our kingdoms were like, you know what? Maybe the Gosling sisters should be queens. So, at this point, this is where Adelaide can finally relax and enjoy a peaceful Iberia, right? Wrong! If only you knew how bad things really were. 28 years. I spent 28 years trying to keep my sisters on their thrones. In hindsight, I probably should have just sacrificed them to the rebels and reconquered their lands for the conquest ending, but after I spent a decade keeping them around, it was hard to let them go. Since I need to be allied to all the rulers in the region, I did have to start cleaning up the other Christian kingdoms in Iberia with the claims I have from the legend. My sisters really don't deserve this land, but I want some nice borders around here, and I have to have less than 50% control of Iberia to get the detente ending. I don't get why CK3 doesn't have a way to sell or give away land, so I had to install a mod to do this. England somehow got a county from Octreda, but I'll deal with them later. Navarra is up next. At least after 30 years of investment, my sisters are actually capable of doing things by themselves and finish the war for me. As for Castile, well, they're ruled by a queen, and I don't want to take down a fellow girl boss. Plus, she's down for alliance, so with that, I should be done with the Iberian struggle. Well, keyword is should. The game is telling me there are 5 Iberian rulers I need to ally, when if you look at the map, there is clearly only 3 others. So, guess who had to spend 20 minutes looking for what messed up with this feature? Basically, those leaders of the populist revolts still count as independent rulers, even after they lost the revolt. So I have to do a murder scheme to get rid of them. While I'm waiting for those schemes to run, I'm kicking the English out of Iberia. I did get lucky with the last peasant leader dying on his own, and finally I was allowed to end the Iberian struggle with detente. 22 hours to get here, but at least it's finally over. I don't get why that ended the English war though. I had to redo the war, and that was pretty annoying, but at least I got the county back to my sister. In 1296, Queen Adelaida becomes infirm, and while it's sad to see her go soon, she's left Iberia in a much better place. I did use the Grant title mod to clean up the borders around Aragon, and this is how Iberia will look once I convert the save to EU4. I wanted to run the game to 1300 before ending things, and unfortunately Adelaida did not make it, so we're back to a male ruler. Ryan III, who I did have married the Queen of Castile, so hopefully I'll get a personal union over them in EU4. Anyway, here is the world at 1300. I don't really want to run the save much more because looking around, I feel like we're in a very interesting place. The HRE has lost a lot in Europe, but they're up big in North Africa. The Berbers love the Kaiser in this timeline, and even abandoned Islam for him. France and Burgundy are definitely going to be mortal enemies, and they're pretty evenly matched. The British Isles also have a lot going on. High-key rooting for Ireland though, since they did unify. It's cool looking around that no one nation is clearly dominating in their region. Like Westphalia versus Carpathia, who would win? No idea. We'll have to see that in EU4. Also, super looking forward to what happens around the Bosphorus. The Catholic Latin Empire established itself firmly in Greece, but Nicaea, which is basically the remains of the Orthodox Byzantine Empire, is establishing its own power base in Anatolia. And my heart goes out for Nicaea because not only are they the last hope for the Byzantines, but also of Eastern Orthodoxy in general. As you can see, it's just them and Vladimir basically. Catholicism has been eaten good, stretching from the Russian steppes to the mountains of Morocco. Anyway, that's all for CK3. The Kingdom of Zenzer will return and Europa Universalis 4. If you guys made it to the end, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a like so other people will see this video too. These vids take a long time to make. Like this video for example has taken me around 60 hours with recording, scripting, and editing. But it's worth it for a quality video. If you want to go the extra mile to support content like this, you can join my alumni on Patreon like these guys and help me get to a point where I can focus on just making the best video possible without having to worry about the algorithm. I can't wait to see where this mega campaign goes, and I hope to see y'all again for EU4. Bye bye!